There are different types of industrial robots. There are articulated robots, there are linear robots, there are parallel robots, which are often called spider robots, so very high-speed pick-and-place robots, and also SCARA robots, which have a little bit bigger working envelope than linear robots. And our universal robots, the collaborative robots, are 6-axis articulated robots.
What about collaborative robots, or cobots as I think you call them? How would you describe these?
Okay, so the collaborative robots, or cobots as we call them, they are force and power limiting industrial robots which can work safely alongside humans without fences and cages. Then they are of course collaborative and safe. They are easy to program, they are flexible to deploy and fast to set up.
Okay. All right, so what about universal robots as a whole here? Like, what about the kind of work you do in terms of helping companies, especially within the food industry, use robots in their operations?
We are a global market leader really in collaborative robot markets. Our market share is 50 to 60% globally, depending on the reports what you are looking at. And from the first commercially viable cobot that we launched, our UR5 in 2008, since 2008 we have sold 34,000 cobots globally until today, and that is more than all our competitors have sold together. So we are really in a good market leading position here. We think that no enterprise is too small for or too big for robotics, and it's a very interesting and important statement, because according to some studies 97% of global companies are actually SMEs, and we are really helping them to automate by using collaborative robots.
Could you tell me a bit more about your work with the food companies Nordic Sugar and Orkla Foods?
For Nordic Sugar, it is a robot performing pick and place and quality inspection tasks. And doing this task by a robot, it has freed humans to do more important, more value-added tasks. Then Orkla Food, it was doing packaging of food in carton. Cobot was performing heavy lifting, and that was important from the ergonomic point of view, so that humans were earlier lifting this, even though the product was less than 10 kilograms, because that's our weight limit for the cobot, but it's still quite heavy for a person to lift all day long. So in this case it was really an ergonomic issue that we helped the operators in ergonomics.
Would you happen to have any food industry case studies available from within the Asia Pacific region?
If I use fast-moving consumer goods, FMCG, where food and beverage is of course part of it, we have a couple of them online. You can see it from our website, the case studies. And one of them I could mention is L'Oréal, of course, the famous French cosmetics and personal care company. So they were using our UR10, our biggest cobot, for palletizing, and again in this case it was a very important factor why they chose our cobot was this ergonomics issue. So earlier in this particular Indian factory the operators were lifting heavy products, and now it's done by cobots, and again these people can do much more value-added tasks.
Robotics as a whole, what would you say are the benefits of using robotics for manufacturing operations?
Yes, okay, so I think robotics as a whole, and I would actually come back to a little bit to collaborative robots, especially where our benefit is, I would say our benefit here is really in high mix, low volume production, which is one of the trends in food and beverage industries as well. For example, food and prepared meals are ordered more and more online, and so the product variants are more, and there's need for a customization. We help our customers to increase the productivity, and then comes the profitability increase together with that, of course. So we are increasing the efficiencies of the factories, and that comes from the flexibility, from the easy programming and all that kind of things. Ergonomics mentioned many times. So and this is related to the well-being of the humans and the operators. So instead of us humans doing these dull, dangerous, dirty tasks, so let the robot do that, and we can do more value-added tasks. So that is definitely the biggest benefit I see here. Productivity, efficiency will certainly increase, and we will very likely save. We don't create so much waste because robots are very consistent, and also the raw material usage will be less because of the consistent application of the whatever the robot is applying. For example, glue or silicone. Sometimes the raw material can be quite expensive. So multiple benefits I can think of here.
Most of what I've seen for robotics in F&B involves automation, which leads to quality and safety. Do you see it developing further other applications besides these?
I see one of the trend in robotics and in cobot automation is all the time developing end effectors or grippers, as we call them. For example, this kind of flexible grippers which can grip different types of and shapes of products, and in food and beverage we could think of vegetables, eggs, and all kind of fragile things. So that is certainly one of the trend that there's more and more this kind of advanced end effectors coming to the market.
How would you see robotics in F&B evolving and growing in the future?
I see huge potential here, especially looking at the current situation and history. When we look at the industrial robots sales as a whole globally, I think the 2017 situation was so that only 3% of those industrial robots sold globally went to the F&B or FMCG segment. So that is of course a very low percentage. So we see that percentage increasing, especially with the help of cobots, because with the collaborative robots we are really lowering the threshold for small and medium-sized companies to start automation. So even the smallest companies realize that it's so easy to program, it's so easy to start investment and start production by using the cobots, and that is totally different from the hard automation and those big and bulky industrial robots they had available only before.
Why would you say that robotics and cobots are important to the future of food and F&B industry as a whole?
I think the most important thing comes to my mind is this empowering, and I've mentioned it many times already, that we are enabling lowering the threshold for small and especially small and medium-sized companies to start automation.